I've reached my breaking point. It's hard for me to ask this, but can I stay at your place for a few days? My dad stood at my doorstep, his voice trembling with exhaustion. My sisters and mom had kicked him out of our family home, leaving him nowhere to go. Seeing my dad, who had always been a pillar of strength, admit he was at his limit broke my heart. I couldn't help but blame myself. "I'm so sorry, Dad," I whispered, my voice heavy with guilt. In that moment, as I struggled to find words to ease his pain, my husband Ethan spoke up with a surprising offer. "Let's have your father-in-law live with us." His voice was firm, resolute. I turned to Ethan, shock evident in my tone. "Are you sure?" Dad, too, couldn't hide his disbelief, his eyes widening in astonishment. "My name is Emily, and I'm 26 years old. Ethan and I met during our college years, fell deeply in love, and tied the knot 2 years ago. Our life together has been a beautiful balance of fulfilling careers and a supportive partnership. Ethan is my rock, my biggest cheerleader, always standing by my side. I never imagined I'd find someone who gives me such unwavering confidence, let alone marry them." Growing up as the youngest of 3 sisters, however, wasn't always so rosy. My childhood home was a place where I could never challenge my mom or my sisters. I was always the last to receive attention, the lowest in the family hierarchy. Every time I dared to voice an opinion, sharp, cutting words would come flying back at me. Over time, I learned to suppress my feelings, bottling up my thoughts to avoid conflict. I endured being treated like a servant by my mom and sisters, never daring to complain. "I wanted a boy," my mom would say coldly. "When I found out you were another girl, I was disgusted. Grace and Ashley were enough. You're an unwanted child, yet here you are in this house. If you want to stay, you have to work." Her words stung, belittling me at every turn. No matter how many times I swallowed the words I longed to say back, the hurt lingered. By the time I was in elementary and middle school, I was responsible for most of the household chores, cooking meals, doing laundry, preparing baths. People around me would praise my efforts, saying, "That's so impressive," or "You're so responsible." At first, I found a flicker of joy in their words, but that faded quickly. "It's expected that you do all these things," my mom would snap, offering no thanks or praise. Instead, I faced constant criticism for my cooking or the way I folded clothes. Through it all, one person kept me going: my dad. Unlike my mom and sisters, Dad loved and respected me. As the only man in the family, he had little power, much like me, but he always stood up for me. "I'm so sorry, Emily," he'd say, his voice soft but heavy with regret. "You have to put up with so much. If only we could all live in harmony." He'd pull me into a tight embrace, his warmth a small refuge from the storm. Despite his early mornings and late nights at work, Dad spent his days off with me, helping me fulfill Mom and my sister's endless demands. He listened to my feelings, validated my words, and made me feel seen. But Mom and my sisters didn't take kindly to that. "There's no one to protect you today," they'd sneer, piling more chores onto me. They'd hurl cruel words at Dad, too, mocking his low income, calling him useless. My sisters would join in, laughing and echoing their taunts. Disgusting. "Don't even open your mouth." No matter how hard Dad tried to be my shield, I could feel myself growing frailier under the weight of their cruelty. Noticing my distress, Dad said something that changed everything when I entered high school. "Emily," he urged, his voice steady yet filled with hope, "study as hard as you can. Go to college, leave this house, and live life on your own terms. You have so many possibilities. There's no need to stay here and endure this forever. I want you to live a life that's truly yours." His words sparked both excitement and anxiety in me. At the time, my eldest sister, Grace, 6 years older than me, was attending a prestigious private university, while Ashley, 4 years older, was at a vocational school. Mom often ridiculed Dad for his low income, telling me, "We're poor because he doesn't bring in enough money. You should start working right after high school." I believed we were financially struggling, and I worried that Dad was pushing himself too hard by encouraging me to pursue college and independence. But Dad was unwavering. "There's no need to worry about money," he assured me, his eyes filled with determination. "I feel responsible for letting you suffer so much. That's why I don't want you to endure this any longer. This is a request from your father, Emily. Don't worry about anything. Go to the university you want, study what you love, find your passion. I want you to lead a happy life to make up for all the hardship you faced." His grip on my shoulder was firm, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. From that moment, I threw myself into my studies, balancing the oppressive demands of my mom and sisters while spending every spare moment at my desk. My hard work paid off, and I was accepted into a university. Dad and I shared a tearful embrace, overjoyed at my achievement. I kept my college plans a secret from Mom and my sisters until the very last moment, announcing my departure only on the day I moved out. By then, Grace had already left home to live on her own, leaving Mom and Ashley behind. They erupted in rage, hurling harsh words at me, but I endured them one final time, breaking free at last. I kept my new mobile phone, a gift from Dad, a secret, not telling them which university I was attending or where I'd be living. Though I stayed in touch with Dad, I began a new life, free from Mom and my sister's control. University life wasn't without its challenges. I wasn't used to speaking my mind, and as a timid person, I often felt invisible in my department, struggling to make friends. Then Ethan reached out to me. "What do you think, Emily?" he asked one day, catching me off guard. Ethan was the bright, charismatic center of our group, and I was stunned that he'd noticed me. I froze, unable to respond, uncomfortable speaking in front of others. But Ethan pressed gently. "You have thoughts, right? Share them. We won't know unless you say something." At first, I thought he was pushy, inconsiderate even. But over time, I saw the kindness in him, how he valued people's opinions and encouraged others. Thanks to Ethan, I began to make friends, and before long, I found myself drawn to him. By our 3rd year, we were dating. When I told Dad about Ethan, he was thrilled, congratulating us with genuine joy. When I landed a job, when Ethan and I moved in together, and when we decided to get married, Dad celebrated each milestone as if it were his own. But deep down, I always worried about him. Since starting university, I hadn't returned home or seen Dad in person. We stayed in touch, but I knew he was still living with Mom and my sisters, enduring their snide comments and domineering demands. "Dad, I'm happy today because of you," I told him when I announced my marriage. Back then, I was powerless and always needed your help. But things have changed. I'm working now, I'm married, and I have someone who supports me. Now it's my turn to help you. Please, let me know if you're ever in trouble. Thanks to Ethan, I'd learned the importance of expressing my feelings, and I was finally able to say what I'd always wanted to tell Dad. He simply replied, "Thank you," his voice soft but warm. For 2 years, Dad never asked for help. Recently, though, I heard that Grace, who was supposed to be living independently, had quit her job and moved back to our parents' house. My worry for Dad only grew. Then, one cold December day, the doorbell rang. I was confiding in Ethan about my concerns for Dad when it happened. It was barely 4 p.m., but the sky was already darkening. We weren't expecting any deliveries, so we were startled when we checked the intercom. The camera revealed none other than Dad. I rushed to the door and flung it open. Seeing him for the first time in 8 years, I was struck by how much he'd changed. His cheeks were hollow, his hair more white than black. He looked frail, unwell. My heart sank. I knew instantly that his sudden, unannounced visit wasn't for a casual reason. "Dad, what's happened? Please come inside." "It must be freezing out there," I urged. Dad was dressed in thin trousers and a long-sleeve shirt, far too light for December's chill. Why would he be outside in such flimsy clothing? The reason came pouring out of Dad's mouth. "They kicked me out," he said, his voice heavy with defeat. Mom and the others told me to go buy dessert, so I went to the nearby convenience store. When I came back, the house was locked. I begged them to open the door, but they shouted at me not to come back and refused to let me in. I was stunned. What? I gasped. Dad continued, rubbing his cold hands together. I left without my phone or jacket. I waited for hours, but they wouldn't let me in. I quickly brewed some hot tea and handed it to him. He clutched the cup with both hands, trying to warm himself, and muttered softly, I might not be able to go back to that house again. Why? What happened? I pressed. Ever since Grace returned, Mom and the others' attitudes got even worse, he explained. I was already at my limit, and then they did this. I don't have the energy to go back. I'm thinking of finding a monthly apartment and figuring out what to do next. I'm so sorry, Emily, but could I stay here for a few days? I'll leave as soon as I find a place. My heart ached. I hadn't realized things had gotten this bad. Dad, who never complained, was now talking about his breaking point. I'm so sorry, Dad, I began, guilt washing over me for not doing more to help. But before I could finish, Ethan's voice cut through. Let's live with your father, he said, his tone resolute. I turned to him, stunned. Are you sure? Dad, too, was visibly shocked, his eyes wide with disbelief. Sorry for being so blunt, especially since we've just met, Ethan said to Dad, but you don't look well. I think it's best if we live together to help you recover. We can figure out the rest later, as long as you're okay with it. His suggestion filled Dad and me with gratitude. And so, our new life as a trio began. Just a few days after Dad moved in, the doorbell rang again. The three of us froze when we saw the figures on the intercom screen, Mom and my sisters, standing at our doorstep. Shock and bitter memories made my breath catch. Why were they here? I braced myself, knowing I had to face them. I didn't know what they might do next. In a panic, I opened the door. Wow, Mom sneered. I didn't expect you to be living in such a fancy place. I thought you were scraping by in some rundown apartment. Her voice, after all these years, sparked nothing but resentment in me. Why are you here? I demanded. Your father's mobile had your address, Mom replied smugly. I had no idea you even had a mobile phone. Why would you give him your contact info but not us? Are you honoring the wrong person? Grace, as always, looked down at me arrogantly, echoing Mom's words. Mom smiled, satisfied, and continued, well, never mind. Is your father here? We're having some trouble without him. Despite her claim of trouble, there was no hint of distress in their demeanor. All three of them were smirking. In trouble? I shot back. You're the ones who kicked him out. You've become quite sassy, haven't you? Mom retorted. So he is here? Move aside. No, I yelled, my anger flaring. Mom's overbearing tone and condescending remarks fueled my irritation. In the past, I would have cowered, but I had changed, thanks to Ethan. Mom's irritation was palpable as she raised her voice. When did I ever give you permission to talk back? Just move. I'm not the same person I used to be, I declared firmly. I won't be pushed around by you anymore, Mom. Ethan stepped up beside me, trying to shoo Mom and the others away. Despite our efforts, they refused to leave. We went back and forth, shouting move and no, until, exhausted or perhaps giving up, Mom broke first. That's enough, she snapped. I don't want to hear any more from you. If you won't move, can you at least let us know when the money will be deposited in our account? It's really annoying that all you can do is put money in, and you can't even do that properly. I was speechless. How could she think she'd been able to live without working all this time? My anger reached its peak. From now on, Dad will be living with us, I declared. Dad and I will no longer be pushed around by you. Please divorce Dad and stop causing him pain. I couldn't hold back any longer. To my shock, Mom's response was something I hadn't anticipated. Don't make it sound like I'm the bad guy, she scoffed. I've been kind enough to stay with a low-income man like him who can't do a thing. You should be thanking me. What? I gasped. "You're just like your dad," she sneered, "a low-income loser acting high and mighty, but in the end, all you're doing is licking each other's wounds." I was on the verge of losing control, ready to lash out, when Ethan stepped in. "Emily works hard," he said, his voice steady. "She's a supervisor, earning a decent wage. I'd appreciate it if you didn't belittle us with comments about licking wounds." Mom turned on him, furious. "Don't you dare talk back to me. You're an outsider, so stay quiet." But then Dad, who had been in the living room, appeared at my side. "I've heard enough," he said, addressing Mom. "We can't impose on Emily and Ethan anymore. Let's get a divorce." My sisters chimed in, emboldened. That's fine. We don't need a creepy guy like you." Mom, spurred by their support, agreed. "That's fine by me." I was dumbfounded by how quickly things escalated, but the peace didn't last. "But there's one condition," Mom added. "Hand over the house to me, and then I'll give you your divorce." Just how greedy could she be? To my shock, Dad agreed without hesitation. "Dad, are you sure?" I asked, stunned. He turned to me and smiled. "If that's all it takes to get a divorce, it's a small price to pay." He faced Mom again, his expression serious. "I'll do as you ask. Leave for today. I'll come over tomorrow." With that, Dad sent Mom and my sisters home. They continued to belittle me until the end, but I didn't care. I felt guilty for pushing the divorce and causing Dad to lose his home, but he patted my shoulder gently. "It's not your fault, Emily," he said. "In fact, I'm glad you spoke up." The next day, Dad returned to the family home one last time with divorce papers. He had Mom sign the application, handled the paperwork, and packed his belongings. When he came back, he looked lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. It was sad to see the house go to Mom and my sisters, but if Dad felt relieved, I was okay with it. A few months later, Dad shared what had happened to Mom and my sisters. They had taken the family home as part of the divorce settlement, planning to live lavishly by selling it. But the house was old, the location undesirable, and demolition costs ate into the proceeds. They were left with almost nothing. Now, without a home or savings, Mom, who never worked, and Grace and Ashley, who lacked stable jobs, found themselves in dire straits. Without Dad, the man they mocked for his low income, to lean on, they struggled. They came to our house several times, seeking help, but we never opened the door. Still, they persisted, causing a commotion on our porch. I finally told them through the intercom, "If you make any more noise, I'll call the cops." That sent them packing. Now, it seems they're barely managing, renting a cramped apartment too small for 3. Even Mom, who never worked, has been forced to get a job. They bicker constantly, blaming each other for their predicament. People rarely change, and with neither Dad nor me to target, they've turned on each other. Their lives seem destined for both physical and emotional poverty. Meanwhile, our lives have taken a completely different path. Despite all their mockery about Dad's low income, we learned after the divorce that he had been trading stocks for years, amassing a fortune. He kept it a secret, fearing Mom and my sisters would try to seize his assets. That's why he didn't mind giving up the family home. Now, we're living comfortably in a new house Dad built with his wealth. He quit his job to focus on his investments, and Ethan and I have stable careers, so we're financially secure. We support each other while maintaining our independence, building the loving family we never had growing up. We've become incredibly close-knit, so much so that we try to go on vacation together 2 or 3 times a year. If someone can't join, we make sure to bring back a souvenir. Our lives are filled with love, laughter, and gratitude, everything I dreamed of when I left that toxic home behind. My name is Jenny, and I'm 27. I live with my family, though my dad is often away due to his demanding work schedule. My sister is married and has moved out, so it's usually just my mom and grandfather at home. Lately, though, I've noticed something off about my sister. Even when she visits, she seems down, her usual brightness dimmed. "What's wrong, sis?" I asked one day, concern creeping into my voice. "You seem off these days." No, I'm all right, really, she insisted, but her tone was unconvincing. I haven't seen you smile in a while, I pressed. Is something going on with your in-laws? No, nothing's wrong, she snapped, her defensiveness startling me. Stop saying weird things. She lost her temper and stormed out to her in-laws' place, but she seemed reluctant to go. A few days later, she returned, looking terrified. Sis, what's wrong? Why do you look so scared? I asked, my heart racing. I'm not terrified, she stammered, but her trembling hands betrayed her. What happened? I urged. It's just a bit cold, she mumbled, avoiding my gaze. Seeing her in such an unusual state, I was deeply concerned. Shortly after, someone arrived at our house, Sean, my sister's husband. So you were here, huh? He said, his tone overly casual. We were worried. Oh, Sean, sorry for the inconvenience, I replied, trying to keep things civil. She got a bit homesick, it seems. Let's go home, Rachel. Rachel left with him, but there was an air of desperation about her. Mom, I said later, don't you think something's off about Sis? She looked terrified when she saw Sean. I thought the same, Mom admitted, her voice heavy with worry. Do you think she's being mistreated at her in-laws' place? With that thought, I decided to visit her in-laws' home. Layla, Rachel's mother-in-law, greeted me. Oh, it's been a while, Jenny. What brings you here? Well, my sister's been acting strange, I said cautiously. I was wondering if everything's all right here. Everything's fine, Layla replied, too quickly. Nothing unusual. As we chatted at the entrance, a loud crash came from the living room. What's happening? I asked, alarmed. I don't know, Layla said dismissively. Anyway, I'm busy today. You should head back. Why won't you let me in? I pressed. You're already in the doorway, aren't you? She snapped, refusing to let me inside. I was turned away, unable to check on Rachel. A few days later, a shocking incident unfolded. Rachel returned home, sobbing uncontrollably. Oh, sis, are you okay? What happened? I asked, rushing to her side. She couldn't speak, only cry. Upon closer inspection, I noticed bruises on her body. It seemed Layla and Sean had harmed her. This is awful, I said, holding her tightly as we cried together. How could they do this? But Rachel seemed even more troubled. The baby, our baby, she choked out. Rachel has a young child, an infant unable to fend for himself. She had come alone with no sign of the baby. Sis, where's the baby? What happened? I asked, panic rising. Through her tears, she explained, they hurt our baby. What do you mean? I gasped. What did they do? I've been enduring Sean's abuse and my mother-in-law's unreasonable harassment for so long, she said, her voice quivering. But when I fought back, they threatened the baby. That's horrific, I said, horrified. Her voice faltered, unable to continue. Just then, Grandpa arrived. What's going on? He demanded. Rachel, still in tears, explained everything. Grandpa said, his face unreadable. Then, without a word, he picked up the phone and called someone. Who are you calling? I asked, but he didn't answer. We're going to their house, he said simply. Taking Mom, Rachel, and me, Grandpa drove us to the in-laws' place. After a 10-minute drive, we arrived. Layla greeted us, feigning surprise. What a surprise to see the whole family, she said, as if she knew nothing. I've heard you hurt my dear granddaughter and even my great-grandchild, Grandpa said quietly, his voice laced with steel. Layla just laughed. Who cares? It's not a big deal. And besides, it's all her fault. She pointed at Rachel. I was stunned. What could she possibly be blaming Rachel for? I wondered. Layla explained that Rachel had told Sean to limit his sausage intake due to its high fat content, as he ate it daily. What's wrong with letting him eat what he likes? Layla scoffed. Rachel had only been concerned for her husband's health. You hurt my granddaughter over something like that? Grandpa asked, incredulous. You're the ones making a fuss over nothing, Layla retorted, laughing. It's absurd for you to come here with your whole family. Are you fools? Grandpa's silence was heavy, the lines between his brows betraying his anger. Then Sean appeared. Hey, Rachel, you're back, he said, feigning concern. I was worried about you. Why is the whole family here? He asked, smirking. We're here to take you down, Grandpa said coldly. What's this old man talking about? Sean sneered, turning to Layla. Grandpa began to laugh. What the hell are you laughing at? Layla snapped. I was just thinking about what's about to happen to you, Grandpa said calmly. It should be any minute now. As he spoke, cars began pulling up in front of the house. One after another, people got out, surrounding the property, about 30 in total, most of them are relatives. Who are all these people? Layla demanded. They're my family, Grandpa said. They heard my precious granddaughter was mistreated and decided to step in. Stop crowding our house like this, Layla shouted. You're being a nuisance. Then let's go inside, Grandpa said, leading our relatives into the house. We followed, and in the living room, we found Rachel's baby, crying, his face swollen. Rachel rushed to pick him up. Could it be they've been hurting him since you left? I asked, horrified. Layla tried to justify it. It was unavoidable. The baby wouldn't stop crying, so we had no choice but to hit him. Normally, you don't hit a child just because they cry, I said, furious. Layla and Sean aren't right in the head. I can't forgive this. Some of our relatives are police officers, Grandpa said, his voice steady. It's possible to take you in on assault charges. Layla and Sean paled. Wait, you have police officers? Layla stammered. Doesn't this fall under civil matters? Not necessarily, if there's evidence of assault, Grandpa replied. Our relatives confirmed it. After what they did to my sister and her baby, I won't be satisfied until they're taken away, I said. Layla and Sean made feeble excuses. There's no need to push this so hard, Layla said, her voice trembling. We just need to ensure this doesn't happen again. It's cruel to be so angry over this. Hey, Rachel, say something, Sean pleaded. We didn't do anything wrong, did we? It was just a little rough handling. Rachel remained silent, her head bowed. Say something, Rachel. Sean yelled. We're married, right? Help me out. Grandpa stepped in front of Rachel. How dare you talk to my granddaughter like that, he roared. Sean tried to argue, but Grandpa was unyielding. Enough is enough. By your logic, no matter how much you hurt Rachel, we can't intervene because we're not blood related. How can we stand by his family? Sean began to cry, terrified. Wait, you're the ones who barged in. Isn't that trespassing? If I call the police, you'll be arrested. We're willing to face any punishment, Grandpa said. But you've done something far worse than trespassing. You need to face that first. Layla lunged at Rachel, shaking her shoulders. What were you thinking, calling all these people? You're causing us problems. Fix this right now. Stop it. Grandpa pulled Layla away. Throwing a fragile woman like that? How cruel. Layla cried, trying to provoke him. Don't think that'll work, Grandpa said. The problem is you attacking Rachel just now. You might have been living in peace, but Rachel wasn't. You've been cruel to her and even your own great-grandchild. How can you be so shameless? I'm not shameless, Layla shouted. I'm just stating the facts. Right, Rachel? Say something. Rachel, who had been silent, finally spoke. Mother-in-law, I don't want to live in this house anymore, she said, her voice steady. What are you talking about? Layla gasped. You and Sean have always treated me terribly, Rachel continued. I never thought my marriage would be like this. I want a divorce. A divorce. Layla sputtered. All of a sudden? Rachel had been holding back for so long to protect her child, sacrificing herself. With Grandpa and Mom's support, she found her courage. Don't joke around, Sean said. I'll never agree to a divorce. You're going to live as my servant forever. No way, Rachel shot back. I'm not your tool. I won't let you control me. You're definitely my granddaughter, Grandpa said, impressed by her strength. When you decide to act, you really act. This isn't the time for this. Layla snapped. I won't allow a divorce. If you divorce Sean, you need to pay compensation. Why would there be compensation? Grandpa asked. You've been a pain in the neck for Sean all this time, Layla said. You owe us millions in damages. That's out of line, Grandpa said. You've treated Rachel and my great-grandchild horribly. You should be the ones paying damages in the divorce. There's no way we're paying that. Layla cried. We don't have that kind of money. I won't accept excuses, Grandpa said. You'll pay, even in installments. We have lawyers in the family, so don't think you can run away. What? You have lawyers. Layla stammered. Mom, what are we going to do? Sean asked, panicking. Fool, what are you talking about? Layla snapped. We don't know if an apology will be accepted. Grandpa seemed to recall something. Come to think of it, I've heard of Sean's company somewhere. You work for the company run by my relatives, don't you? What? You have relatives there too. Sean gasped. There are plenty of punishments waiting for you, Grandpa said. Your trespassing isn't the worst of your crimes. You'll need to address that first. Fired, not just divorced, but fired. Don't joke around. Sean shouted. I won't allow that. Do you think saying you don't want to will get you off the hook? Grandpa said. Reflect on what you've done. Mom, do something. Sean pleaded. I'm going to get fired. This is outrageous. Layla cried. It's unfair, piling up on us like this. Who was the one doing outrageous things first? Grandpa shot back, his eyes stern. All I've been doing is protecting my adorable granddaughter. Let's end this conversation here, Grandpa said. Rachel, you can rest easy. Our relatives will handle the rest. Thank you, Grandpa, Rachel said, her voice filled with gratitude. As Grandpa led Rachel out, Layla and Sean cried out in despair. Wait. We're the ones who were wrong. Please don't go through with the divorce. Sean begged, but Rachel didn't look back. She got into Grandpa's car, and they drove away. You should give up, Grandpa said. Everything that's happened is your own doing. Why did this have to happen? Layla wailed. It's all Mom's fault. What? I'm not the one at fault. Sean shot back. They argued until they were out of sight. We left the legal matters to our family lawyer, the police, and our company's owner. In the end, Rachel divorced Sean and secured a settlement. Sean was fired and struggled to find new work. Rachel, finally free, cried tears of joy. Later, Sean began loitering around our house, seemingly wanting to reconcile, but Rachel had no intention of taking him back. When Grandpa saw him, he was furious and called our relative, a police officer, who had Sean arrested for stalking. A restraining order was placed, and he stopped coming around. Peace returned to our home. Rachel plans to raise her baby with our family support, and I'm helping care for the little one, enjoying my life with my wonderful family. The moment I learned the truth, I was filled with surprise, gratitude toward my father-in-law, and a profound sense of liberation. My name is Charlotte, born in April, surrounded by the gentle scent of blossoming flowers, as my name suggests. Now, 45 years have passed, and I've devoted my life to my family as a wife and mother, cherishing each day. But problems arose outside our family life. I met my husband, Joseph, at a college club. We hit it off, started dating, and eventually married. We have a son, but he's working in the city as a professional, returning home only every 6 months. Since it became just the two of us, Joseph and I looked forward to revisiting places from our early dating days. How about going to Six Flags tomorrow for our day off? Joseph suggested one day. Oh! Here's a question, he added with a grin. What did Charlotte do 23 years ago at that amusement park? Caught off guard, my mind raced to recall. Did I do something? I laughed. Then it hit me. Oh, I remember. After riding the teacups, I got dizzy and fell into a nearby pond. That's right. Joseph chuckled. I was so embarrassed. I wanted to pretend I didn't know you. How mean. I teased. Why did you let go of my hand then? Laughing about these embarrassing moments has become a treasured pastime. Even when it's just the two of us, the atmosphere never darkens. We lived a happy life. Joseph's shift work meant we sometimes hardly saw each other, but I adjusted my schedule to match his, so I rarely felt lonely. Then, a major event shook our lives. My father-in-law was diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer. Surgery was nearly impossible, and the 5-year survival rate was less than 2%. It was a devastating blow. Joseph and I were filled with despair, our hands clenched into fists. When a loved one falls ill, you're left wondering what to do, what's best, and your mind goes blank. Joseph has a sister in the neighboring town, but she didn't know yet. Deciding to inform her, Joseph called her. After 7 rings, her shrill voice answered, "Why are you calling now?" "I'm busy preparing dinner." "We have something important to talk about," Joseph said. "We'll come over tomorrow evening." Despite her complaints, this wasn't the time for trivial concerns. Joseph hung up after conveying the news. He usually didn't mind his free-spirited sister-in-law, who rarely attended family gatherings and clashed with his personality, but this was different. The next day, we took the day off and headed to her house. Her husband, not the friendliest, answered the door with an intimidating stare. In the living room, she cast a cold glance at us, treating us like strangers despite not seeing us for 6 months. Joseph fixed his gaze on her and broke the news about their father's illness. Her response was unbelievable. "So what?" she said. "You came all the way here to tell me that? The sickness is Dad's fault. Don't tell me you expect me to take care of him." Instead of sadness, she was more concerned about avoiding inconvenience. I was embarrassed for her as a fellow human being. My anger peaked, and even Joseph, who had planned to stay calm, was worn down. "That's too much," he said. "You're his daughter, aren't you? Even though a loved one is suffering, you can be so indifferent. If the roles were reversed, you'd be upset." I thought she'd reflect, but I underestimated her. "Don't talk nonsense," she snapped. "There's no rule saying I have to look after him because I'm his daughter. If you're so concerned, why don't you do it? Joseph is his child, too." She wasn't wrong, but her irresponsibility was infuriating. I thought she should step up, but people like her are skilled at justifying their behavior. Arguing further seemed futile, so we dropped it. Though reluctant to leave father-in-law to her, as a working couple, we didn't have time, unlike her, a housewife. If Joseph quit his job, it'd be better for our finances if I quit mine, but I loved my job. As I weighed my options, she played her trump card. "By the way, Charlotte, you have a nursing certification, don't you? You know more than an amateur like me. You should take care of him." It's reassuring for the patient to have a professional, isn't it? 15 years ago, I worked as a CNA in a nursing home, earning a certification to care for my parents if needed, as I'm an only child. Knowing further argument was pointless, we went home to think. "I'm sorry you have such an unfeeling sister-in-law," I said to Joseph. "She's not the type to reflect, even if I said something." "It's okay," he replied. "I knew nothing would change her. It's not your fault. What should we do? I know you love your job, and I'd feel bad taking that away just because Dad got sick." His thoughtfulness warmed my heart, but unlike his sister, I'm not heartless. I wanted to cherish every moment with father-in-law. "It's okay," I said. "Don't worry about my job. I can figure that out later. The most important thing is I met you thanks to your dad. I want to express my gratitude." Holding Joseph's hand, I saw his eyes well with regret. "Let's face this together," I said, and his expression lightened. The biggest issue was money. Father-in-law had only the cheapest insurance, meaning minimal coverage and high out-of-pocket costs. "His daughter definitely won't chip in," Joseph said. "They should contribute more if they're not helping care for him." Their unreliability was disheartening, but caring for a sick person requires immense motivation. It was a battle against myself. The next day, I stepped away from my bar kitchen job, where I'd enjoyed the camaraderie and hard work. My colleagues were understanding, though disappointed. "Come back when you can," they said, their words giving me strength. I headed to the hospital, where father-in-law sat quietly, facing away from the entrance. His loneliness was palpable, and I struggled to find words. After a moment, he spoke first. "Charlotte, thank you for coming. I'm sorry to be such a burden." His face softened, but worry quickly clouded his eyes. "Please let me know if there's anything I can do," I said. I couldn't understand his pain, but I wanted to support him. I took a 40-minute bus ride to the hospital daily, maximizing my time with him, even if it meant less sleep. The rides were soothing, preparing me for the challenges ahead. As father-in-law's vitality faded, I devoted myself to his comfort. His treatments, IVs, medications, a catheter near his heart, were distressing but necessary. "Try this," I offered, handing him a Walkman loaded with his favorite songs. Father-in-law loved karaoke, having won local competitions with his amazing voice. Hospitalization had stopped his practice, so I hoped to keep his passion alive. He put on the headphones, pressed play, and his face lit up. "I thought I wouldn't be able to listen to music anymore," he said. "Thank you so much. Now I have to win another karaoke competition when I get discharged." Seeing his smile brought me relief amidst the sterile hospital atmosphere. He never complained, instead worrying about me. "Sorry for causing you trouble and expenses," he said. "I wish we'd traveled more with you and Joseph. I've always wanted to go to that place." He showed me a photo of countless lavender flowers blooming vibrantly. "This place used to be just fields," he said, "but after urban development, it became so beautiful. This flower is my favorite." His sparkling eyes fueled my urgency for his recovery. I began stopping by a florist before hospital visits, bringing flowers he loved. "After you left, I felt lonely," he admitted, "but having flowers around changes things. I talk to them, and the nurses think I'm strange." We laughed together. 2 weeks later, a feeding tube was attached as his condition worsened. His skin turned yellow, his voice weakened. I suppressed my fear, acting strong, though it was tough. I hadn't expected him to become bedridden so quickly. I wanted to say, "Stay strong, Dad," but knew he'd be frustrated, blaming his body for failing him. His occasional smiles were my saving grace. I'd excuse myself to the restroom, crying silently, then return with a composed face. Joseph spent quality time with him during breaks, and I'd give them space, enjoying quiet moments at the hospital cafe. One day, they discussed insurance money. "I want my modest insurance to go to Charlotte, who's taking great care of me," father-in-law said, turning to me. He'd changed the beneficiary to me. Suddenly, the door flung open and his sister-in-law stormed in, hurling abuse. "Why did you change the beneficiary to her? It used to be me. Change it back, or I'll tell everyone you're the worst father." To our surprise, father-in-law defended her. "All right, I got it. If you feel so strongly, I'll change it back. But promise you'll stop saying hurtful things to Charlotte. She's the wife of my beloved son, Joseph. I won't tolerate her getting hurt. Perhaps she loved money obsessively." She nodded quietly and left. I wanted to follow, but Joseph and father-in-law stopped me. "Why are you guys laughing?" I asked, noticing their amusement. Father-in-law chuckled. "That silly girl believed all my assets were in insurance and went home." "Your plan worked, Dad," Joseph said. Father-in-law handed me 3 bank cards from a locked drawer, revealing they held a fortune beyond imagination. I was speechless. Why had he enrolled in such a minimal insurance plan? "All my assets are on these cards," he said. "I don't have much time left, so I want you two to use them. I'm sorry for the expenses, hospital bills, flowers, clothes." "No, the money we spent isn't a big deal," I said. "We can't accept this. Take it as gratitude for caring for me," he insisted. "Keep this a secret from her." He didn't think highly of his daughter due to her selfishness. We agreed to leave her the bare minimum if anything happened. Faced with their earnest gazes, I reluctantly agreed. 2 weeks later, Per father-in-law's wish for a home-like environment, we moved him to a hospice. We contacted his daughter, but she only said, "Good for you." Despite her absence, our warm conversations continued. "I'm sorry for the trouble with my secret," father-in-law said, "but there's one more thing. Did you know my father was Martino Aaron?" "What?" "The famous singer from the nostalgia song show." I gasped. Even Joseph didn't know. Apparently, father-in-law was Martino Aaron's secret child, kept under wraps due to his father's fame. Martino had doted on him, sharing his wealth before passing. "When I'm gone, go here," father-in-law said, handing us a paper with an address, evading further questions. A month later, he passed away peacefully at the hospice. "Father-in-law," I sobbed, calling for him one last time, but there was no answer. Gratitude welled up for how he'd treated me like his own daughter. At the funeral, his daughter arrived, crying loudly, acting as if she'd cared deeply. I wanted to expose her, but it wouldn't have made father-in-law happy, so I treated her like a stranger. A week later, Joseph and I visited the address. An enormous, opulent mansion stood before us, unlike anything we'd seen. A woman emerged, startling me. "I'm sorry, I didn't think anyone was here," she said kindly, inviting us inside. The interior was extravagant: marble, diamonds, ornate decorations. She explained, "I've been the caretaker. Your father owned this place, entertaining friends here. His final wish was to hand it to you, Joseph and Charlotte." She gave us keys, a map, and a notebook detailing valuables, wishing us happiness before leaving. We found a letter from father-in-law in a study drawer, stating we could live in or sell the mansion. Unable to express gratitude to him, we vowed to live for his sake. The following month, we visited a hotel he'd wanted to see for 15 years, playing his favorite music and speaking to his photo. "Father-in-law, we're finally on a trip together. Let's have a blast." A leaf stuck to our car window, shaking lightly, as if he'd answered, filling me with joy. At the historic hotel, surrounded by nature, we savored welcome drinks and fresh fruit. "It's been a while since we've enjoyed a leisurely trip like this," I said. "Yeah," Joseph replied, "and Dad's with us today." We shared a look, and I felt a bit embarrassed. After enjoying the spa and a meal for three, the staff, understanding our story, offered a complimentary bottle of wine. "This is delicious," I mused, tipsy. Just what Dad would say. Joseph laughed, recounting how I'd stroked father-in-law's photo, saying, "I love you." I was a bit envious, he teased. We drove through fields of lavender, the place father-in-law had shown us. "Dad said Mom used to gaze at lavender before she passed," Joseph said. Realizing he'd brought us here out of love for his wife touched my heart. We began bringing lavender to their graves, a precious flower warming our hearts. We now spend weekends in the luxurious mansion, every week feeling like a vacation. My love for Joseph deepens, and my gratitude to father-in-law overflows. I've cried countless tears of joy, living a life filled with love and cherished memories. I don't recall inviting you. She must have been talking about her lavish party, showing off her fancy high-rise apartment. I don't remember being invited either, I replied, and I had no desire to go. But she pressed on, confronting me. "Did you come for a tour or something? You, who can only afford such cheap clothes for your daughter?" She smirked, looking down on me. I decided it was time to fight back. "Is there a reason I shouldn't be here?" I asked calmly. "Yes," she snapped. "This is no place for someone as poor as you." With one sentence, I stopped her in her tracks. As my words sank in, her face turned pale, then flushed with anger. She called me a liar, which I found rather amusing. "My name is Alan, and I'm a homemaker. I wanted to work, but at my husband's request, I focused on our home. Every day is filled with joy as I care for my loving husband and dear daughter." This story began a few years after our daughter was born. She was ready for preschool, and we chose one where she could grow freely. She was nervous at first, but soon made friends and loved her days there. I, too, made friends with other moms through our children's friendships, but not all were pleasant. While most were kind, a few, led by Jasmine, always tried to one-up everyone. Jasmine, a homemaker like me, bragged about her husband's job at a famous company, boasting about luxurious hotels, international trips, and designer purchases. Recently, I endured her story about dining at a renowned chef's restaurant. She had a few friends among the moms, but I wanted little to do with her. One day, I took my daughter to the park and ran into Jasmine. She approached, dressed in an elegant, expensive outfit, hardly park attire. "Hello," she said, her tone dripping with superiority. "Hello," I replied, hiding my discomfort. Her gaze shifted to my daughter, and she chuckled derisively. "Where do you buy your daughter's clothes?" she asked, smirking. "Those look quite cheap. Don't you feel bad for her?" My daughter wore a simple t-shirt and jeans, nothing ragged, but I didn't dwell on it. I chuckled, letting it slide to avoid conflict. "If you can't afford better, let me know," Jasmine said triumphantly. "I can give you my kids' old clothes secondhand, though. Or even some of mine." I had no interest in her offer. "Sure, I'll keep that in mind," I said vaguely. Our kids were playing, so I ended the conversation. "My daughter wants to play elsewhere, so I have to go." "If you need help with clothes, don't hesitate," she said, waving flamboyantly as we parted. Seeing my daughter's cheerful smile eased my irritation. I heard Jasmine was hosting a party at her newly built high-rise apartment, bought with her husband's money to show it off. I wasn't invited and had no interest in attending. Rumor had it there was a dress code, ostentatious, colorful dresses, unusual for a casual party. The guest list included moms from affluent families, confirming Jasmine judged people by wealth. I was fed up just hearing about it and hoped to avoid her, but with our kids at the same preschool, that seemed unlikely. One day, I headed to a high-rise apartment and opened the entrance's automatic lock. A door creaked open, revealing Jasmine. I froze, then regained composure. "Well, hello there," I said, forcing politeness. She didn't respond, staring with wide eyes, then furrowed her brows in anger. "I don't remember inviting you," she snapped, referring to her party. "I don't recall being invited either," I said matter-of-factly, nor did I want to attend. "Why are you here if you weren't invited?" she demanded. "Did you come to tour this high-rise, even though you can only dress your daughter in such drab clothing?" Her disdain gave me the perfect moment to counter. "Do you think I shouldn't be here?" I asked calmly. "Yes," she said. "This is not a place for someone like you." "For someone poor like me?" I said, overlapping her words. "Well, this is actually my home." Her movements halted, her face paling as my words sank in. She blinked in disbelief, her eyes wide. "What do you mean?" she demanded. "Explain yourself." "Let me clarify," I said. "My husband is the president of several companies. They may not be famous, but they generate significant income. He owns properties across Japan, including this apartment building. It's our home. I manage it because my husband entrusted me with the job, knowing I wanted to work." Jasmine raised her eyebrows, shouting, "What? I didn't know this when I signed the contract. I met a man, not you." "That was my husband," I explained. "He handled the key handover this time, so I didn't meet you." "You can tell as many lies as you want," she snapped, storming back into her apartment. To my surprise, she returned with an armful of items, children's toys, stuffed animals, clothes, and began throwing them at me. "You're the one dressing your kid in pitiful clothes. Stop lying." Her outburst caught me off guard, but I decided to set the record straight about the park incident. About my daughter's clothes that day, I said, "She loves playing in the sand," so I dressed her in clothes that could get dirty. I showed her a photo of our family, my daughter in a recognizable children's brand outfit. Jasmine froze, her eyes widening. "You only dressed her nicely that one time, didn't you?" she screeched, clinging to denial. Not true, I countered, showing more photos of my daughter in nice clothes in various settings. Jasmine clenched her fists, trembling, out of retorts. What? I asked, not hearing her clearly. What are you saying? She yelled. That being wealthy makes you superior? She pushed me hard on the shoulders. Other mothers, watching the scene, stepped in to calm her. She lied to me. Jasmine shouted. There's no way she lives here. She's just lying to be more popular. Ignoring their calming words, she continued yelling until, exhausted, she quieted, gasping for breath. Her hair was disheveled, one slipper missing, the hallway littered with broken toys and scattered items. From her apartment, our children peeked out, worried. Are you satisfied now? I asked, flashing a faux smile. I hope you enjoy your luxury apartment brag party. Please clean up the mess you made. Liar, she shouted as I walked away, her bravado making me chuckle. As a result, Jasmine was distanced by the other moms. Her high-handed behavior had long been a point of contention, and her tantrum was the final straw. Rumors spread that she got divorced after living lavishly off her husband's money, which had already strained their marriage. Her refusal to clean up the mess she made pushed him over the edge. I never thought you'd stoop this low, he reportedly said. I can't stay with you anymore. I'm taking custody of our child. Jasmine, jobless and alone, struggled to find work, eventually landing a part-time job at a supermarket and living in a run-down apartment. I hope she's learned not to judge people by their wealth. Mom wants us to come home for the New Year's holiday. My husband told me during our first holiday season as a married couple. I wanted to visit my own family, too, but he refused. To make matters worse, his mother berated me, saying I lacked awareness as a wife and calling me a shoddy daughter-in-law. No matter how much I tried to negotiate, my husband sided with her. I'd had enough. I couldn't play this family game anymore. I decided to take measures to permanently sever ties with my in-laws. My name is Abby, and I'm 28. I married Malcolm, my boyfriend of 2 years. Our newlywed life was smooth. We both work full-time, sharing household chores equally. I didn't want all the housework pushed onto me, so I ensured Malcolm did his share. My job and personal life were fulfilling, and I even considered having a child once things settled. But 1 month after our marriage, I was summoned to my in-laws' home. I thought it was an invitation to bond, having been too nervous to connect before. Upon arriving, my mother-in-law's voice rang out as we sat in the living room. Abby, why are you sitting there so leisurely? Make me some tea. Caught off guard, I apologized. I'm sorry. I assumed I'd be treated as a guest, not a servant. As I prepared the tea, she sighed constantly. You're taking too long. It's common sense to warm the cup first. My tea-making skills were lacking, but her imposing standards annoyed me. Why didn't she make it herself? My father-in-law and Malcolm said nothing. Another day, she called me over, angry that I hadn't brought gifts. Isn't it common to bring a gift when visiting your in-laws? She scolded. I hadn't planned to go out and came last minute, but she dismissed my explanation. These days, daughters-in-law show disrespect so quickly. I got stuck with a shoddy one. Neither Malcolm nor my father-in-law supported me. I whispered to Malcolm, "Can you say something to your mom?" It was last minute. I couldn't prepare a gift. He sighed, annoyed. Don't you think you should always have gifts ready, just in case? I agree with Mom. His irrational blame stunned me. My impression of him plummeted, and I developed an aversion to my mother-in-law. She continued imposing outdated rules. The daughter-in-law handles all chores, prioritizes her husband and in-laws, and spends New Year's at their house. For our first New Year's, Malcolm insisted we go to his parents. What? I said. When can I visit my family? It might be tough this time, he said. We'll decide after New Year's. What's with that? I snapped. We promised to visit both families equally. His irresponsibility infuriated me. We'd rented an apartment halfway between our parents' homes to visit them equally, but we'd been to his parents 6 times and mine only once. He wanted us to stay at his parents' from the end of work until it resumed. That's absurd. I said, I want to visit my family before work starts. He sighed, annoyed. Ask Mom. I called my mother-in-law, who said, Abby, you're in charge of the New Year's dinner. I understand, I said, but I'll visit my family before work starts. What's with prioritizing your family? She shouted. You lack the consciousness of a daughter-in-law. She lectured me for an hour, leaving me exhausted. Malcolm brushed it off. Mom just wants you to be a good wife. She says she wants you to fit our family. In the end, we spent the entire holiday at my in-laws. I worked like a maid, cooking, cleaning, laundry, trash alone. When I asked Malcolm for help, my mother-in-law scolded me. This is the wife's job. Malcolm's tired from work, so he should rest. You're inconsiderate. I work full-time, too. I protested. I haven't rested at all. I didn't want to make a fuss, so I endured, but my trust in Malcolm waned. I hadn't seen my family since New Year's began. He stayed home, tired, so I visited mine alone. My mother-in-law's harassment continued. She called daily, leaving 10 missed calls by morning. When I called back, she yelled, You finally woke up. Get up at 5 a.m. and make nutritious meals for Malcolm. If I got home late from work, she'd scold me. It's outrageous for a woman to stay late. A wife who doesn't come home before her husband is the worst. Prioritize your home, you heartless girl. I earn more than your son and contribute more to our expenses, I wanted to say, but I held back, brushing it off. I stopped answering her calls, deleting her voicemails. A year later, Malcolm pestered me again. Mom says you should come home for New Year's. I'm not going, I said firmly. I can't bear it anymore. I'm not a housekeeper. Don't upset Mom, he grumbled. You married me, so be considerate of my family. You never show up for my family. I shot back. I've worked hard to build a relationship with your mother, and she's always mad. You need to try harder, he said, dropping the final blow. Mom's mad because you're a failure. The dam burst. A failure? It's my fault? I've put your family first, putting up with everything. Taking a deep breath, I looked him in the eye. I'm cutting ties with your family. I'm never seeing your parents again. He looked surprised, but gave in easily. All right, I get it. I'll go alone. Our relationship grew strained. We talked less, but I didn't care. I spent New Year's with my family, overjoyed. My mom asked, Is everything okay with Malcolm's family? I'm fine, I said. I told him I won't be involved anymore. She looked uneasy, but didn't press. As I relaxed, the doorbell rang. It was Malcolm, looking worn out. What? I said, stunned. Mom said to bring you, he mumbled. How relentless is she? I said, outraged. I told you I'm not going. You agreed. Yeah, but Mom's angry, he said. She says it's inconceivable for a daughter-in-law not to visit. I don't care. I said, I can't handle her harassment or your father's indifference. I won't see them again. That's a problem, he pleaded. You married into this family. Consider my position. Your position? I snapped. What era are you living in? Enough is enough. I didn't marry to be your parents' housekeeper. I don't want in-laws who harass me or a husband who won't stand up for me. He flinched, but it wasn't enough for the humiliation I'd endured. If you side with your mother, I'll divorce you, I said. Divorce? He gasped. You're joking, right? I'm serious, I said. Being mistreated because I'm your wife, living with a husband who follows his mother's orders, I'll never be happy. I'd be better off single. His face paled. His phone rang, his mother. Hello, he answered pitifully. I could hear her yelling. Losing patience, I snatched the phone. Mother-in-law, it's me, I said. No matter how much you use Malcolm, I won't come over. You're my daughter-in-law, she fired back. I won't accept that. Daughter-in-law, are you in the Stone Age? I retorted. It's the 21st century. I won't show up, special occasion or not. If you have more to say, I'll divorce Malcolm. Or we can divorce and remarry under my surname. That's fine, right? That's ridiculous, she shouted. I won't allow that. Do as you please, I said. I have no intention of dealing with you ever again. Goodbye. I hung up and turned to Malcolm. If you take your mother's side, we're done. If you treat me as an equal, I'll let this slide. I understand, he said, hanging his head. I choose you, Abby. Since then, I stopped visiting my in-laws and my mother-in-law stopped contacting us. Malcolm now visits my parents regularly and they treat him like a son. We'll face obstacles, but I want to team up with my husband, who chose me, and overcome each day together. My name is Chloe, and I'm 44. I'm about to share a pivotal, dramatic moment in my life, and I'd like you to listen. At 25, I met and married Ethan, a hardworking businessman, through a mutual acquaintance. I hoped to be a full-time homemaker, but an economic downturn kept me at my salon job, using maternity leave to welcome our daughter, Isabella. As a first-time mom, some days were exhausting, but each brought joy. Isabella was adorable, Ethan sweet, and my in-laws showered her with love, helping with her upbringing. Surrounded by kind people, our life felt calm and peaceful. By the time Isabella was 10, Ethan and I were a solid couple. The lovey-dovey phase had faded, but I saw it as a natural evolution. Ethan, ever kind, picked me up from work when our schedules aligned, so I never worried about our love fading. But one day, everything changed. Ethan was off, so I borrowed our car for a shopping run. Adjusting the side mirror, I noticed something glittery at my feet, a dangly earring, clearly for women. I don't wear earrings due to allergies. If this isn't mine, whose is it? I wondered, my mind jumping to infidelity. No, cheats don't get caught this easily, right? I thought. Still, I confronted Ethan, showing him the earring. He looked startled, then recovered. Oh, I gave a colleague a ride the other day. It must be hers. His quick answer raised suspicions. Did he almost say mine? I wanted to press further, but held back with Isabella present, not wanting to hurt her. A few days later, on a stormy night, Ethan called, saying he wouldn't make it home due to a business dinner. Are you sure you'll be okay? Don't catch a cold, I said, concerned. I'll be fine, thanks, he replied. But a shrill, sweet voice echoed. Ethan, are you still on the phone? What was that? I asked. I'm on a call, he said, flustered. It's a client. You know how bosses use first names. It sounded like an excuse. I muttered, humph, and he hung up quickly. I'm off for an entertaining night with clients. Got to go. First jewelry, now this voice. The smell of infidelity grew stronger. Without solid evidence, I felt only nagging doubt. The next morning, Ethan returned, talking about his difficult night, repeating words like forceful and wanted to go home early. So, you're not cheating, right? Just kidding, I said, planning to laugh it off. But his face turned pale, like a ghost. No, of course not. I'd never do that, he stammered. His complexion betrayed him. What an awful joke I've made, I thought, hiding my tears. I turned away, saying, go take a bath. It's your day off. Alone, I cried. His bad lying made it feel unreal, but his reaction confirmed my suspicions. What do I do? I wondered. Find evidence and divorce? What about Isabella? Can I raise her alone? I still loved Ethan and couldn't decide, so I chose to think more about what I wanted. During Isabella's summer break, Ethan insisted on taking her to his parents' house, unusual since he typically found it a hassle. I wondered if he was using the trip as an excuse for something. Hoping to find evidence, I let them go. Ethan, grinning more than usual, said, we're off, as he drove Isabella away. His cheerfulness was suspicious. At home, I searched for proof but found nothing. The next day, exhausted from searching, I went to work. Colleagues worried about my tired face, but I brushed it off. Exchanging messages with Isabella via her GPS, I noticed something odd. The GPS showed her heading toward a street with pubs, then stopping at Amour Club, Love and Me, a romantic hotel. Isabella's at a hotel? I panicked, fearing trouble. She hadn't responded to my messages, so I called Ethan's parents. "Is Isabella there?" I asked. "Chloe, she just left with my son to play," Ethan's father said. "What's wrong?" "You sound panicked." Relieved she was safe, I wondered why Ethan was at a hotel with her. I called back later, responding to Isabella's message, "I'm waiting in the car for Dad." The GPS confirmed the hotel. Did he abandon her in the parking lot? I thought, furious. He'd used her as a cover. I messaged, "Mommy's coming to join you," and told my father-in-law everything. He was livid. What's he doing? Thinking about his mistress at a hotel with Isabella? We decided to remove her from the situation. The hotel was near a station, so I took a train while my in-laws drove. In the parking lot, I found our car, Isabella waving innocently. I hugged her tightly. "I'm sorry for leaving you alone," I said. "I'm not alone. Daddy's just late." She pouted. Promising a fun day and making her wait was wrong. "Mommy will make sure he pays," I thought, convincing her to go with my in-laws. I waited in Ethan's car, calling him to disrupt his rendezvous. "Hello?" he answered. "Hey, I'm driving." "Don't call me," he said. "Your car's right here," I said, chuckling. "What are you driving?" "Oh, okay, gotcha." "Your parents will pick her up soon," he lied, flustered. I hung up, and soon Ethan rushed out with a disheveled woman, arguing. His shirt buttons were haphazardly fastened. She looked furious, and I noticed she resembled a younger me, his type, apparently. As he approached, I grinned. He froze, his mouth opening and closing like a goldfish. "I'm here to pick you up," I said, swinging the car door open. He raised his hand, and I chuckled at his conditioned response. The woman fled, terrified. "No objections?" "I'll go ahead," I said, driving off. A guy who abandons Isabella deserves the same. Think about what you've done. At my in-laws, my father-in-law was livid. When Ethan arrived after a 5-hour walk, he mumbled, "I'm home." "Who the hell are you?" My father-in-law roared, yanking his arm. "Where were you? Leaving Isabella behind?" "At a hotel," Ethan stammered. "With whom?" My father-in-law demanded. "Speak up, or I'll leave you out all night." "She's a temp at the office," Ethan confessed, trembling. I found her cute, wanted to chat, but she was receptive, and I got carried away. I was somewhat pleased he found her attractive because she reminded him of me, but I wasn't forgiving him. "Call her now." "Tell her it's over," I said. He dialed, stammering, "Hey, it's me." "I'm sorry about lunch." "I've had enough of you," she shouted, hanging up. "She dumped you," I said. "You lacked sincerity." My father-in-law scolded him. "Do you realize how bad you've been to Chloe and Isabella?" "Of course I do," Ethan said, sobbing. "I want to strip him naked and throw him out, but what does Chloe want?" my father-in-law asked. I didn't want to break up. I loved Ethan but never wanted him to cheat again. "Divorce," I muttered. Ethan jolted. "Please, anything but divorce." I was wrong. I betrayed you and Isabella. "I'll keep the divorce papers," I said. "I'll file them if you misbehave." "You're on an allowance, only enough for lunch. You'll do all housework, trash, shopping, cleaning, laundry, everything. You'll be our errand boy." "If I'm upset, this deal's off." "I'm fine with that," he said tearfully. "Thank you for going this far for me," my father-in-law corrected. Ethan agreed. 6 years later, I keep the papers locked away. Ethan shows no signs of cheating, and keeping me happy has become natural. Isabella, now a teenager, mocks him, saying his actions were unthinkable. His determination to be a better husband grows, and I'm happy. I haven't forgiven his mistake, but our agreement protects my happiness. My goal is for our family to live harmoniously. Even if Ethan had wanted to break up, I wouldn't have divorced. As long as he fears the papers, we're in love. He cherishes our family of his own accord. I'm confident this won't happen again. To everyone listening, know this. You can't destroy the family I've built. I won't let go of Ethan no matter what. Please feel free to comment below if you liked this. Remember to like and subscribers for more.